Have you ever really stopped to think about how people told time before we had a clock on every wall, on every wrist, and every single pocket? Well, today, we're going to travel back to ancient India to explore exactly that. We're going from simple, clever sundials all the way to some truly mind-bending cosmic cycles that span billions of years. Let's dive in.
So, first off, let's just appreciate the massive problem that every ancient civilization had to solve. Think about it. No atomic clocks, no digital displays, not even a basic mechanical watch. How in the world do you organize your day, your year, your entire society? How do you know when to plant crops or when to harvest them, or when to hold a big festival?
Well, the answer, of course, was literally right above their heads. They looked up, the predictable, reliable movements of the sun, the moon, and all the stars. That was humanity's very first toolkit for telling time. You could say the entire cosmos was this grand celestial clock, and ancient astronomers got incredibly good at learning how to read it. And the most fundamental gear in that giant cosmic clock was, of course, the sun. Its daily journey across the sky gave us our most basic unit of time, the day. But, a whole day is a long time. So the next question is, how do you break that day down into smaller, more useful chunks? This is where ancient India came up with some unbelievably clever solutions. Over on the left, you're looking at a water clock called the Gatika Patra. Just imagine a small copper bowl with a tiny little hole in the bottom. It would sink in a bigger pot of water in exactly 24 minutes, marking out a unit of time called a Gatika. And on the right, we've got a type of sundial known as the Chaya Shank. The idea behind a gnomon is just so beautifully simple. You basically stick a vertical rod in the ground. It casts a shadow. As the sun gets higher, the shadow gets shorter. And then as the sun sets, the shadow gets longer again. And that one moment when the shadow is at its absolute shortest, boom, that's your local noon. You could even measure the shadow's length in units called angulus, which literally means finger widths, to accurately chop up the daylight hours. Okay, so tracking the sun gives us the day. Pretty straightforward, right? But what about the month? Well, this is where the ancient Indian system gets really unique. We're moving away from the sun's steady, predictable rhythm and into the much more complicated and, frankly, fluid dance of the moon. Our modern day is simple. It's a fixed 24-hour block based on how fast the Earth spins. Easy. But the traditional Indian calendar, it's not based on the Earth at all. It's based on the moon. It uses this amazing concept called a tithi, which is a lunar day. And here's the crazy part. A lunar day isn't a fixed length. Nope. It can be as short as 20 hours or as long as 28. So how is that even possible? The secret is that a tithi has nothing to do with the Earth's rotation. It's all about the changing angle between the sun and the moon as we see them from Earth. A new tithi starts every time that angle clicks forward by 12 degrees. But see, the moon's orbit isn't a perfect circle. It speeds up and it slows down. So the time it takes to cover that 12-degree gap changes every single day, which makes every single tithi a different length. Now, this variable length leads to some really fascinating quirks in the calendar. For instance, if a tithi happens to be a particularly long one, over 24 hours, it might start before one sunrise and then end after the next one. When that happens, a single lunar day literally stretches itself across 2 of our solar days. This is called a tithi vriddhi. And yep, you guessed it, the exact opposite can happen too. It's called a tithi kaya, or decay. If a tithi is super short, it can actually begin after one sunrise and end before the next one even happens. In that case, that lunar day never touches a sunrise, so it essentially just gets skipped in the calendar. The date could literally jump from the 3rd of the month straight to the 5th. Now, relying on the moon like this, while super clever, creates one major astronomical challenge. A calendar based on lunar cycles is fantastic for tracking the phases of the moon, obviously. But it has a huge problem when it comes to tracking the seasons. Because the seasons, well, they couldn't care less about the moon. They're all about the sun. Here's the core of the problem. A year made of 12 lunar months adds up to about 354 days. But a solar year, the time it actually takes for the Earth to go all the way around the sun, is about 365 days. That leaves you at this pesky gap of about 11 days every single year. And if you don't correct for this 11-day gap, the consequences are massive. Let's say you have a harvest festival. It's supposed to happen in the autumn. In just a few years, it would start drifting into the summer, then the spring, and then the middle of winter, becoming completely disconnected from the actual harvest it's supposed to celebrate. So how did ancient Indian astronomers fix this? With an absolutely brilliant solution called the Adhik Masa. About every 3 years, they would just add an entire extra month, a leap month, right into the calendar.
And this one elegant fix beautifully realigns the lunar and solar cycles, making sure that all the festivals always fall in the right season. It's genius.
So far, we've been talking about days and months and years. Practical timekeeping. But the ancient Indian concept of time went so much further. So I want you to buckle up, because we are about to zoom out, way out from our human scale to the vast, cyclical, and truly mind-bending cosmic time of Vedic philosophy.
You see, for these philosophers and sages, our human-scale time was just a tiny, insignificant ripple in an immeasurably vast ocean. They were thinking about time on a scale that just completely dwarfs our modern understanding of deep history.
They didn't see world history as a straight line, but as this grand repeating cycle of 4 ages, or yugas. Each yuga has its own characteristics and a truly vast duration. It starts with a golden age, the Satya Yuga, and then sort of descends through different stages, down to where we are now, the age of conflict, known as the Kali Yuga.
And just to help you wrap your head around the scale we're talking about, let's look at the numbers. We are said to be in the Kali Yuga right now, and it's considered the shortest and darkest of the 4 ages. And its duration alone is 432,000 years. Just think about that. The entire recorded history of humanity would fit into just a tiny fraction of this one single shortest age.
Okay, now let's add all 4 of those yugas together, from the Golden Age all the way to our current one. When you do that, you get one complete grand cycle, which is called a Maha Yuga. And that single cycle, from a cosmic dawn to a cosmic dusk, lasts for 4.32 million years.
But even that is just one small part of this cosmic clock. According to this philosophy, if you take 1,000 of these grand cycles, you get a single day of Brahma. And that period, just one cosmic day, lasts for 4.32 billion years. It's a timescale that is just astonishingly close to the modern scientific estimate for the age of our own planet. And after that cosmic day, there's a cosmic night of equal length, before the entire universe is reborn and the whole cycle begins all over again.
So, we'll end with this thought. Our modern world pretty much sees time as a linear arrow shot from a fixed past towards some unknown future. But this ancient perspective offers a completely different vision. What if time is actually a great wheel, just endlessly turning through these immense cycles of cosmic birth, life, and rebirth, a clockwork universe on the grandest scale we could possibly imagine?